Okay. All right. Just introduce yourself.
My name is Cheyenne. I am an artist and a farmer. I was previously a mental health therapist with inpatient and outpatient experience. Also was a model from runway to print. Um, yeah, I have a degree in psychology, a degree in counseling. I was a state and nationally certified counselor. Had a graduate certificate in art therapy as well.
Nice. So, modeling is, I would say, a pretty unconventional career. Not many people do it. So, how did you get into modeling? Okay.
So, how I got into modeling, I was in grad school. I did my first runway show for a boutique and a salon. They both put on a runway show. So, that was pretty awesome because I was the shortest one there. I found out that if you're the shortest, you actually get to go in the front. So, my first runway show, I started it off. I was the shortest and the oldest. So, model. So, that was pretty cool. I was like, oh, wow, that is really cool. And it wasn't anything of a focus of mine. You know, I was in grad school to become a mental health therapist, but I did enjoy it. The clothing, the creativity of the people, just the whole, having get-togethers, good food, and all of that thing, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that was my first experience. Was in, I believe it was my second year of grad school. I had my first runway show.
Okay. Nice. So, what made you want to continue doing modeling? Because you said you went to grad school. So, why did you pivot from grad school to focus on modeling?
Well, I had an opportunity that came along, and then I wound up getting with an agency, and they took me to New York, and I got picked for New York Fashion Week, and I thought that was cool. And then I got to do. They were like a mother agency. They taught me how to model. I mean, I had a great modeling coach. She would have us drill different how to display different emotions, different stories, without, just through image. She would take us in the middle of the woods and be like, just scream at the top of your lungs right now. We would have makeup classes, nutritional classes, workout classes. So many phenomenal things, but it was just so funny. Like, even during New York Fashion Week, she was like, "Now, Shy, like, you got to keep your heels on.
You gotta keep
Like,
your
you're real short."
short.
And then just grace. I just teaching me how to have grace because I was shorter and much older than other people. I got told no a lot. People would be like, "We love your look, but just can't have you just because you're short." And then I'd say, "Oh, it's all right. I just really appreciate being here and whatnot." And that actually wound up opening the opportunity even more because, it would be like I got turned down for one show in New York Fashion Week, but they loved my look. And then, like, the friend who was a designer would pick me and things of that nature. And people would just be like, I just loved her attitude. So I stayed with the mother agency for a long time and really got taught well how to model, and how to manage her and things of that nature. So, but I had a good foundation, and I love mental health therapy, but I think a lot of it has become kind of corporate, and that person-centered perspective and person-centered care that I always wanted to give is just slipping through the cracks, and it's just not even just not available, but it's just frowned upon. They want that fast food drive-through mental health care, and it's all about psychopharmacology, um, and it's just really disheartening. Kind of what the mental health field is turning into. So yeah.
Okay. And so, you being a shorter model, I know that was probably difficult. How was the learning curve for you? Because I know
Oh,
that.
I learned fast though. So I learned real fast, and anything I want to do, I pour my heart into it. I work extremely hard, so it didn't matter. I just got used to my feet hurting from wearing high heels.
I can imagine.
And then after, I did figure modeling, and I worked at art departments and things of that nature, and I was very strong. So I was very muscular, but still, feminine and ladylike. And I think I was, and I had a solid foundation where, um, the men in my life and my family told me to never edit who I was, to never get plastic surgery. You
Right.
know, no disrespect if that's what you want. I have had friends who had children and things of that nature and went that route, and whatever is good for you, that's fine. But I was just told don't alter your body, stay true to who you are, and it's most important to be strong and to be a good person and to love yourself and to uphold yourself with respect. And I try to do that. I'm I'm sure I've had lapses, but I think that resonates with people when you are a beautiful person inside and out, and you're strong, and you are who you are, and you love that person. And I think that's you model clothes well. You have the ability to take emotive, captivating pictures that tell a story, and do all these amazing things beyond just selling the products or what have you.
Right. And so, how many years did you do modeling?
I don't even know.
You lost count. So, because I know when we first met, I pretty much met you when you were doing the traveling modeling. And so, what experiences did you have during traveling modeling? Because I know you've been so many places, you've been on the road. So, what significant experiences have you had?
Well, I think the most significant experiences I've had with any form of traveling, travel has been important in my family since I was since I was 18, 19, 20. My dad paid for me to go to Ireland. That was the first place I ever went to out of the country. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
And my family, my father worked for a corporation where he had a job where he had to travel extensively. So travel has always been very important to everybody in my family. And in my life, it played a role because I got to just have such a diverse uh, set of experiences with the food I've eaten, with the cultures I've seen, with the history I've seen. I think if you don't know history, then you're easily fooled. I've seen
It's
so
true.
many things in museums and out in the wild, wild, like the depths of our country. I got to learn intimately, and so few people get to do that. And I think everybody in my family, all my siblings and in my family, are very well traveled. For a long time, I was the least traveled out of all my siblings. So, um, yeah, it's just it's important in my family in general. Everybody in my family is really really well traveled, and I think we're just all really unique, intelligent, special people because of that, and because my dad, um, he was a traveler, and he very much instilled that if you're a minority, then that's something that you should do is travel because not as many people in the minority community get to travel.
That's very true.
So that if we can do that, then do it.
Yep,
So
I agree. And so, from modeling to farming, can you share the pivotal moment or experiences that led you choose
I've always
this?
wanted to be a farmer. Any type of job I had, like modeling or so forth, it was always a means to an end. I never wanted to be some sort of famous person or something. That's I don't think anybody who's known me has ever heard me say I want to be famous and da 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 da. I don't
Right.
think that's something
Yeah.
that I've ever really said before. Any type of job I've had, it has been because I wanted to have my own land and have animals and to raise produce. Even when I was in grad school, even when I was a mental health therapist, I used to talk about what you're putting in your body. Let food be thy
That's
medicine.
true.
Almost every situation I went into as a counselor, we always started with a whole health assessment. What are you eating? How are you living?
Yeah, I agree.
Um, so I've always, my grandfather was a farmer. Um, well, both sets of my grandparents lived out in the country, and my other grandfather was a hunter, and they were all my best friends when I was a kid. So that was always my intention. I remember when I was a little girl being out in the country in my relative's house, being like, I want to come here after I get married and have my honeymoon out here in the country. So yeah, any job I've had is it's always been my goal to be a farmer, have land, and I wanted to make sure other people had gardens and things. I used to build gardens, and really up until recently, that has really been a major focus for me with all the supplies that I had was building portable gardens for the community, and I would donate them. Currently, I needed to use the wood for my own barn and stuff like that, so I have been focusing on that. But
Mm.
that's been a lifelong dream of mine, really.
And so, with that upbringing, you've been around farming, so that was pretty much what you always really wanted to do in your heart.
Hmm.
And so, like in your own words, like what does farming really mean to you, like down to the core?
Oh man, farming, it's life. I mean, it is life. You
Yeah.
want to eat,
You
farm.
got to
You
farm.
know,
That's
like
true.
so many people are like, well, why? And I'm like, I like food. I like animals. I like living how a human being should live.
Hmm.
We shouldn't have all this decentralized, like crazy um, food production that's like, if one thing fails, it's all going to fail.
Yeah,
It's just like they just want to put everything and have clone meat, and you don't even know what you're going to be eating soon.
that's true.
So trying to raise some animals, even just get some chicken, start with some eggs, because we really don't know what's going to be in our food,
We don't.
so um and everybody, like I said, everybody in my family had a foundation of being raised by somebody who farmed and hunted, and they were in turn able to provide for the community.
Hmm.
They were able to open their door to people whose parents might have passed away in a car accident, or needed somewhere to stay, or were in hard times. And that's just how things were. So, and I think now it's becoming like an anomaly to see people who want to do that. And,
Exactly.
you know,
And so I guess that leads into my next question actually. With society changing so rapidly and everybody, I guess everybody's being conditioned to just go to the grocery store. What principles guide you to make you say, no, I don't want to be like just a consumer?
well, we have an unsustainable system, and so it's not going to be sustained.
Yeah.
People are going to wake up one day and it's going to be emergencies more and more often. It's just going to be, if it's in your neighbor's community or your community, or in your mom's community or your community.
Right.
So, even if I've had plenty of failures. We had heat wave, and on the plant side, we had grasshopper plague. I don't know if you heard of it in Utah, in the center of the country. All these
Yep.
grasshoppers came in. I had a beautiful garden, got wiped out. So it's just being able to take setbacks and be determined to, keep focused on your goal, keep focused on what God's mission in your life is. Ever since I was a little girl, I was telling you, when I was in Miss Almond's fourth grade class, they asked me, "What would you do with $1 million?" And I was like, I drew a great big house with lots of people in it.
Right.
And I was like, I'm gonna build a big house and everybody's gonna eat for free and we're gonna have a great community and
Community.
stuff.
Yep.
And it's just, um, all this fast food and these chains, and, I think I misspoke and I said decentralized, but probably the word is centralized food production, where
Hmm.
it's all in one place.
Yeah.
And, putting all your eggs in one basket, you drop that basket, all the eggs are
It's
cracked. What you gonna
gone.
do?
Exactly.
So even now, if I have to endure things like you can see on my hand, I got frostbite and
Hmm.
cuts and long nights, and I got to eat crappy food, and so while I'm growing my good food, and if
Right.
it all is gone, just having that perseverance, that endurance, that faith, that God wants the best for you, and God doesn't want you to be eating clone chicken meat. God doesn't want you to be eating immortal human cells that they're
That's
putting in
true.
now, or biospores, or just all sorts of stuff that doesn't need to be in the food, because some of the stuff gets approved by the FDA. Some of it doesn't even need FDA approval. Some people put stuff in the wash water plants that you can't wash off. That is it messes with the plants and also messes with you who
You.
eats
Yeah,
it.
I agree.
We look at studies with like gut flora, and
Yep.
when you eat this stuff that's been genetically modified, it's genetically modifying a lot of people's bodies, starting with
Hmm.
their gut.
The gut.
And anyways, I could go on with that, but just try, even if it's getting you some green onions and putting them in some dirt, or getting you some potatoes, sweet potatoes, and sitting them in a glass of water in the window and getting some shoots. Just try. And if you fail, keep going, because you have to eat as a human being.
Yeah.
You're going to have to eat. Um, and today, you really, really need to be careful what you're eating. All that being said, I have had to eat hot dogs and all sorts of stuff so I can get to where I want to be. So,
Right.
yeah.
And so, with people not, you know, actually considering farming as a career or a lifestyle anymore, like your anybody that's in your circle, like your family or friends, how did they, take the news? It's like, hey, I'm gonna go be a farmer now.
Well, I didn't really tell anybody. I don't do things like that. I just go do things, and then once I'm done and I've got established, and I'll tell people, oh well, I left there. I'm not doing that anymore, and I'm doing this because people, some people are just so hateful. Like I was telling you, some people who are like my friends and brothers in Christ, who have read the Holy Bible and the Word, are telling me that there's a difference between being full of faith and being full of foolishness, is what I was told. So I was told some, that wasn't my family, that was some of my, what I thought was friends. But no, my family was very happy. They know how close I was with my grandfather
Hmm.
and my relatives who hunted and farmed. So they figured like, yeah, Shy's the one to do it. That's my nature child. She was
It's gonna
always
be her.
bringing in critters. She always wanted to have lots of animals. So I think my family was like, this makes sense for her. But we just want to make sure she doesn't get hurt. Just to be careful, and they're all supported by my seeds and make sure they can help out when they can help out. And
Mhm.
I'm a lot broker now than I was before. So that's been new. But like I said, I couldn't do this by myself. Also, my family and my friends have helped out so very much, the people in my community. And for a long time I helped so many other people eat, and gave out gardens and would go to homeless shelters through my travels. And I would spend 10, 20, 30% of what my income was
Right.
giving. I would just go to a health food store and buy a ton of produce. I would just call a homeless shelter and see what they need to make sure that they have what they needed. And now I feel like people who saw me do that are blessing me too along the way, just to make sure I have what I need to keep going. So that's been a beautiful thing with my family and my friends as far as being supportive. So both ends of the spectrum,
That's
kind of
good.
some nasty stuff, but kind of some really, really amazing things.
Okay. So, what would you say the most significant benefits that you've got from deciding to be a farmer?
Just so many amazing things. Just that sense of self-efficacy, like I'm trying and it's succeeding, and I can build something. Like I started building stuff like just horizontal, like, okay, I'm gonna build a sidewalk. And just being like, whoa, like I built that, and
Yeah.
like I built the bricks that built that, you know like that's amazing. Like, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna put 4 pieces of wood in the ground, and I'm gonna pour concrete, and
Hmm.
I'm gonna do this. And okay, that didn't work, but we could do this. And having to endure crazy weather and just
Right.
everything, and just seeing that the work that I'm putting in is getting to that dream, and it's getting to that point, even when I have setbacks. Like, but the beauty of it outweighs any of the negative things. And there are lots of negative things that you wouldn't have thought about coming into the wild. I was ready for like rattlesnakes and scorpions and stuff, but other things have come up too along the way that I was like, whoa, didn't think about this. But just seeing my animals thrive and flourish and be such unique animals full of love and can hang out with one another, my
Right.
turkeys and my chickens, and my dogs, and everybody all gets along. And I think that's a beautiful thing, and I think that's my gift. So just seeing my gift flourish, and just that self-efficacy that I've had to do new things that are really hard, just step by step by step, and overall, even with the setbacks, it's progressing, and it's going in a constructive, positive direction.
Right. And so, we all know farming is tough. It's hard. It's not easy. What were some of those unexpected challenges that you came into it and then you didn't realize, like, whoa, I was not expecting that. Like, what was one of
Well, just like the thing like with the grasshopper plague thing that just happened, like I had a beautiful garden, and then just out of nowhere, I woke up and it's hundreds, thousands of grasshoppers
them?
everywhere
Yeah.
out of nowhere. Or, they had told me that it was going to get down to 17 degrees here and there, but that didn't, like, I've been coming to here. But last year was the first year that it was down to like 7 and 9 degrees for months.
That's crazy.
So just enduring that with hurricane grade winds, just things that we have. I've been coming to this area for a long time. I'm very familiar with this area. So very unique things with the weather conditions, what have you, that are just kind of anomalistic out of nowhere. Um, but everything else, I mean, a lot of the other hardships I already knew, but then out in the wild, there is, I'm a person of faith, and the Holy Bible is a supernatural book, and I think that there have been experiences that I've had out here, that are in, along the lines of, life being of supernatural origins that I really didn't understand until being out in the deep wild and kind of seeing new things and capturing things on film where I was like, wow, never seen that before. But I think a lot of people are having things happen here.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I won't get into all that. But just know, if you are a person of faith, I've had experiences that have happened where I'm like, wow, like through and through, like the Holy Bible is true,
Yeah.
but my faith stayed the same. I know God will protect me out here, out off grid, and um, God did not give me a spirit of fear.
That's
So
true.
just seeing things that I always knew were true and seeing that they are, I guess, is
Yeah, I
the best
understand.
way
Oh
to do
yeah, I
that.
know.
Yeah.
And so, if anybody that was wanting to go into farming, like, what would you tell them, like the misconceptions that people have around farming?
Well, shoot, I think this most big misconception is that it's not worth it.
Hmm.
It's just
Yeah.
I don't want to go in the dirt. I don't. If you want to be a human being who lives and is healthy and has a family who's healthy, you need to grow your own food. Sorry, I
That's
got
true.
flies over here.
No, you good.
But you need to not just think about what's in your food because it's going to be so expensive to just get real food.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have that problem, if you're just flourishing financially and you could just buy whatever, then that's good. But think about in the future. I kid you not, you're going to have harder and harder time finding real food.
Yeah.
So if you're fine eating immortal cells and clone meat, that's fine. But just know it's not going to just be for poor people or this or just the middle class and you're high class or, you're this now and you could wake up tomorrow and everything in the world has changed. So that misconceptions is really that it's like something separate from being a human being. I don't think that, just like I remember being in grad school, they said that Native Americans didn't have a word, I think, for art, like certain Native American tribes, because art was life.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about farming. Farming is life. You want to eat, you want to live, you want to survive, then that's what you need to do is raise your own food or at least try to.
At
So
least
it's
try
not
to.
really like, raising stuff to be some sort of like, um, just a monoculture farmer. I mean, that system's going to fail anyways, where it's like, I'm just going to grow corn and it's going to be all from
Right.
Monsanto. And well, that's not going to work out anyways. That's collapsing. So I guess if that's the different type of farming versus the farming, like when you and I grew up, it just had picture old McDonald with all the different animals, all the
Hmm.
different plants. We
Yeah.
didn't even have that. We didn't have just miles of corn,
Yeah.
GMO
It was
corn where you
varied.
can't save the seeds, where it has Roundup ready in it in the seed, and the seed's red instead of yellow because it's
Right.
covered in poison. So um, think that yeah, I guess that's the best answer to that question.
Okay. And with farming, have you ever encountered any doubts or uncertainty? Like, have you ever had a moment to where it's like, I need to quit this and I need to go back to
Never
what I
go
was doing?
back, but just again, those things that I didn't see coming made things harder. But I know I'm like, this is what God has wanted me to do my whole life. So I can't, there is no other option.
Right.
This is what I'm supposed to do. I want to grow my own food and, I can't, I'm not even going to be like, we had eggs go up to what, $8,
Yeah. It's
you
crazy.
know, when I was the poorest I ever was. I was telling you, like, I made sure that we at least had some boiled eggs and some
Yeah.
bananas. Those were some of the core things. And it's like, we are just getting deeper and deeper into unprecedented
We
times.
are.
We are one of my favorite homestead channels, Homestead Heart, Mrs. H. She was like, we are running through scripture right now. So, yeah.
And going forward, like, what do you hope to achieve or contribute to being a farmer?
Well, I want to make sure that all my animals are thriving and getting into animal husbandry. That's what, I got lots of girls and boys now, and they're all doing their little mating dances. So that's going to be another new thing for
It's gonna be
me. My
interesting.
bunnies have been doing their thing. So that's right up on the corner. I really want to get goats and make my own goat cheese. Where I am from, North Carolina, there was a lot of like homemade goat cheese in the Amish community. I remember being a kid, and I think it was Winston-Salem or Salem, that area. We had a field trip out there, and I got to see that whole community and how they make all their stuff, and then up in Maryland, my brother lived up there, going to the Amish community and the markets and stuff. It was just so amazing. Oh man, what was the question again? I went off on a tangent.
Pretty much basically saying, what do you hope to achieve?
Oh, I hope you. Okay, so we're going with my goals. I'm sorry, I just get so excited about the
Oh,
Amish
yes.
community. I just start reminiscing. So we talked about dairy, animal husbandry, really getting my plants down so that nothing, no type of predator can get my plants. So that's why I'm really focusing on building the farm and making sure everything's sealed off,
Mhm.
climate controlled, no matter how much rain, freezing temperatures, heat waves we have, everything is secure. Getting a solid root cellar. So yeah, those are some of the goals. And I do want to get goats and a milk cow.
Okay.
So and I want to have a set of sheep too because I want to make my own clothes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So building a loom, dyeing wool and things of that nature is another thing I wanted to do.
Okay. And last question: if you had to tell people one thing about farming and they didn't know anything about it, what would you tell them?
That animals are amazing and they can get along with one another. They can get along with you. I was scared to have animals because I thought I would, I'm so small. How am I going to feed
Right.
animals? And that's don't worry about that. Animals are amazing. Predators can get along so well with animals that they are seen have seen as prey. Just all based on how you love on them, how you care for them. They won't attack you. They can be huge with huge claws. I got like the 50-pound turkey in there, and you've seen, I
Oh,
hold
yeah.
him and cuddle
That's
him.
sweet.
Sweet baby. And I had been to somebody else's farm, and they had a smaller rooster, and it attacked me 2 times, and I was scared. So just know that having animals, you will be surprised at how well they can get along with you, along with your animals that your dog, your children. Also that they're clean. So I give my chickens a bath with
Right.
like soap and water, and they just sit there and they love their bath. They
That's
get their
good.
nails painted. Like anyways, like don't think like if they're dirty or they don't get along with one another or your family. And I mean, if you do have a situation where a rooster attacks or something like that, I mean, you could always put it down, do what you need to do, and process it and handle it. But I haven't had any problems really with aggression towards me, and for the most part, they get along really well. Honestly, my two little birds run the rest of them. Like the smallest chickens are like it's like the 5-10 pounders
Yeah,
run the
chickens
50
are tough.
pounders. Yeah, it's wild. So that was really the most surprising thing to me. You can get them all to get along well. You can build a farm, a barn, and just put them all in there and just cuddle with them and wash them and bathe them and keep them clean and things of that nature. As was one of my biggest surprises.
Okay. Well, thank you, Shay, for your time.
Thank you.
All right.